Hey guys, today is the Tuesday video. I generally do my video recording for YouTube. It's just a hobby at the moment, but could eventually be a full-time profession. Because, as we know, these days, everything is a profession. There's a lot of new professions, and YouTube is one of them. So, continuing my road to an actual job, there are 3 topics I want to talk about in this video today. It has been a this month I have learned some definite lessons, and it's been quite a couple of months. It's been quite the year so far. So one of the first topics I want to talk about is, let's talk about full ownership. What is full ownership? Full ownership means when you own something, let's say, it doesn't matter what it is. If you buy a very, very expensive, let's say a game console, for example. I have many game consoles. Let's just say, for example, I bought my PS4 a few months ago, and that is my console. So I can do whatever the fuck I want with it, because it's mine. I paid for it. I can swap out a hard drive if I want. I can replace a video game if I don't like it. I can do whatever the hell I want with it. So, because, for one, it's mine, and that is what full ownership is. That is what full ownership is. When you have full ownership of, for another example, a house. If you have full ownership of a house, then that is your house, and you can do whatever the fuck you want with it. So, now, let's talk about what is a privilege. Now, this one falls under the same category as full ownership. If somebody is giving you a privilege, let's say, take privacy, for example. Privacy is a privilege. Being able to live somewhere with somebody is a privilege. Being able to use Wi-Fi is a privilege. And the one thing, whatever the privilege is, it doesn't matter. You definitely don't want to abuse said privileges, whatever those privileges might be, because chances are there'll be repercussions for your actions. You know, having a cell phone is a privilege. There's so many different privileges out there, you know, but the thing is, we're so overprivileged here, and these days, there doesn't seem to be a lot of consequence. There is no consequence. As far as I'm concerned, there needs to be more consequence. For certain things, depending on how serious those things are. But that is a privilege, and a privilege, again, it falls under the category of full ownership. If you do not have full ownership of something, then it is considered a privilege. And you don't want to abuse that privilege, because if you do, there's going to be repercussions for your actions. I bet you dollars to donuts, 100%. But if you have full ownership of something, if something is fully in your name and you paid for it, and it's not, you know, it's not under somebody else, then you have full ownership. I have full ownership of my PS4. I have full ownership of my TV. I have full ownership of my GameCube. I have full ownership of my Nintendo 64. I have full ownership of my laptop. All that stuff is mine and mine alone. This house, however, is not mine. I don't own this house. I don't have full ownership of this house. I don't have full ownership of this room, even though I get to live here. And that is a privilege. Now, the third thing I want to talk about, and this, those two fall under the same category. This other one I want to talk about is where it gets interesting. The other one I want to talk about, and I've lived for long enough, and I've learned a few things, and it's been, like I say, it's been quite a year. When something is in somebody else's name, when you don't have full ownership of something, let's say you received let's just say, for example, you received a cell phone. But there's another person who is paying for your cell phone every year, every month, whatever. And then, that, again, actually, it falls under the same category. That again, it's a privilege. So, the thing is, because it's a privilege, that doesn't give you the right to go about all willy-nilly and do whatever the fuck you want. No, it doesn't, because you always want to ask first. You always want to ask first, it's always important to ask first when you don't have full ownership. If you don't want to get into that dangerous thing of abusing a privilege, then it is always best to ask. Doesn't matter what it is. It is a courtesy to ask somebody first, is this okay? Like, instead of going about all willy-nilly and, I'll just install Netflix on my phone, for example, or I'll just install a bunch of apps on my phone and just, install them all. And then, you might, if that happens, the person who's paying for the phone, you might get a little knock on your door or a text message saying, what the hell are you doing? Because you don't have full ownership. Somebody else, if somebody else is paying for a cell phone or a tablet, or it's under somebody else, you don't want to abuse that privilege, because chances are 100% you're gonna get a little knock on the door for going over your data. Roaming data charges are expensive. I've never gone over my data, thank goodness. But there are, there's roaming data charges. I've never gone over my data, thank goodness, because these phones are really, really good about that. But they'll actually, before you go over your data, they will disable your data automatically. So that's really nice. but if you happen to go over your data cap, let's say, for example, just an example here, you will 100% get a knock on your door or unfriendly text message from your cell phone carrier or either your ISP, and that's not very fun. So I would highly recommend, and this is my advice to you, ask first. Ask first. You know, is this okay to do? And it doesn't, like I say, it doesn't matter if it's a cell phone or a bathtub. It's a common courtesy for everything when you don't have full ownership to ask first. Always ask first. Don't just think, oh well, I'll just use this bathtub, or I'll just use this person's toothbrush, and I'll just use this person's toothbrush and they won't mind. And chances are just just example, if somebody used my toothbrush and they didn't ask my permission, I'd be pretty grossed out and I'd be pretty disgusted. So always ask first. Guys, that concludes this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. I'm gonna try to upload a Bloodborne playthrough today. I think we're gonna go watch the fireworks, it being Halloween and everything. By the way, happy Halloween. Hope you plan to eat lots of candy. I know I do. Probably whatever's left. And, after watching this video, watch it a few more times and just take what I said into consideration and just let it sink in, because there's truth to what I'm saying. And, trust me, you don't want to get caught going over your data. That's, granted, that's something that has not happened to me, but, trust me, that it's not fun at all. And it's not something that you would want to happen to you. So anyway, guys, that's going to be it for me. I'm probably going to work on my Bloodborne playthrough, and, see you guys next time.